Alright guys, welcome to Investing with JYK. It's been like a week since I've made a video. I don't have today's video really planned out. I just thought it would be interesting to do an investigation. So we all know that this virus has a bad effect on economy. Basically a bunch of people get unemployed and all that. So that's the intuitive understanding. And then who's the canary in the mine? Well, China obviously had suffered the first. Whether it has suffered the most is debatable. It will be a good prediction fiddled with, so very unreliable and a lot of incentives to make so that's that. I'm behind the Great Firewall, so there's not much I can do. Anyway, so the thing that I want to know is if, like, whether the Chinese data is actually accurate, and then how many people actually got unemployed in the meantime, right? So the first thing you go off with is the direct number. So if you look at, there's one thing that says unemployment number, right? So we'll just find that. I thought I had that open, but as I said, I don't have it all planned out. So let's see. So you could just search for let's go to see if we have anything here. Says at the end of January, this is the National Bureau of Statistics in China. By the end of the first month, which really hasn't experienced any impact because the whole thing started on the 20th of January, and from 23rd all the way to, I think, 23rd or so, all the way to 31st was gonna be Lunar New Year holidays anyway, so January really hasn't experienced too much pain. Now by the end of February, the unemployment rate has gone up 0.9%. Okay, so how many people is that? So according to the Bureau of Statistics, there is a there we go. Where we go? Where are we? So basically, they count this number. There was actually a number called labor force in one of those things, and I can't find it. Here we go. Labor force, 800. This is 10,000, so this is 800 million labor force. It's been keeping fairly steady since 2016, so and it's slightly going down as China ages. So we're actually past the peak labor force, so that's 2016. So that's assuming this thing's like 800 million, right? An increase of, and then we can look at whether that number is real. So 800 million multiplied by 1%, or 0.9 really, as it claimed, was 7 million people that was newly unemployed due to the virus. And as we know, China wants to make their numbers look better, as always. So there is actually a way for me to find the other ways to deduce the number of employment, like newly unemployed people, to see what the real number might be, right? So they can't lie over everything, because when you lie, necessarily some numbers don't match up. So this is something that is produced by the Labor Statistics monthly for what's known as, I don't even know how to translate this, above designated size or something. Essentially, it means that if your annual revenue is above 20 million yuan, you end up in this category. And so this is 2019, and you can look at that they had some numbers. Unfortunately, they don't have the number for January, and they never have a number for January for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure. But the same thing happened. Let's look at the 2020 number. You can look at the 2020 number, and you can see that it is quite a bit smaller, right? So it went from, oh god, 14 trillion yuan in revenue, and now we have 11.6 trillion yuan in revenue. Okay, so that's pretty big drop. And what else is important? So this number is actually important. The average personal revenue, we have the same number here, obviously. So that number enables us to work backwards and have a and deduce what the actual number of employed people are, at least for the designated. So for people working for enterprises that are in the designated category, or whatever they call it. Okay, so how is this thing defined? So that's a definition. The definition is revenue divided by the average labor force divided by the cumulative number of months, multiply that by 12. So this is supposed to be an annualized number. Right, so for end of February, that you basically have to divide this by 2. Right, so and then all you need to do is basically take this number and then divide by 12 and multiply that by 2 is your cumulative revenue per person. So let's do that then. 112. So this is 10,000 yuan. So that's 1 million, 1.2 million, right? So let's just do, because in China we count in 4 zeros, and in the West we count in 3 zeros, and it gets the fucking crazy confusing. Anyways, multiply that by 12. I'll just work in 4 zeros for now, and then we'll convert. Actually, I just put some zeros there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 zeros. Good. Multiply by 12, and then divide by 2. That will be the monthly. Sorry, wrong. Divide by 12 and multiply by 2. That's the cumulative. So we're looking at this number, 170,000 yuan, right? And this is your revenue. So if you just do a division, you got 116,164. Okay, now it's the number of zeros. Oh shit, there's 8 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Damn it. That's the number of employed people. So we got what? 68 million employed people. Right, 68.3. So I'll just put that number down. I'll put in, maybe I'll just put it in, I'll put it in here. put in this. So that's number of employed, 2020, average, Jan and Feb, right? And then we can look at the average employed for the last year, which is 2019, and we do the same thing. In this case, since it's the entire year, we don't need to annualize. All we need to do is take this number, which is the annual revenue, total revenue. Now I need to turn it into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's the actual number divided by this number, which is the per person number. So 121, 141, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is the number of employed people. We have unfortunately a decimal there. We'll take that out. Number of employed in 2019, average whole year. All right, so what are we looking at? We're looking at 7, well, we're looking at 7 minus that. Something like 600 million shortfall. And remember, we are averaging in January, so February should be a lot worse. Okay, so this is 6.6 million people. So 6.6 million people got unemployed for the ones that work for these enterprises above the designated the size or whatever you call it. So those are, again, enterprises that have more than 20 million in annual revenue. Now, okay, so then the next step is to find out what is the percentage of their revenue versus the entire economy's revenue. So let's see if we have something. So I'm just finding out their ratio. These numbers, unfortunately, it's not easily obtainable in English, but at least, you know, for ones that can read Chinese or at least can translate, then could be useful. Let's see if there's anything. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Damn it. We don't want labor force either. So apparently I can't really find that. But what if we can find out the number of total employed people in China for 2019? We don't have monthly data, but at least we have the yearly data, right? So we find the ratio of people working for these above designated size, and then do some math over there, just find out how many people actually got. If things hold steady, in the sense that if every company gets impacted equally, then we can look at, we can come up with some number. And by the way, we did know that the unemployed number, which was somewhere here, this number, so let's just put that number down as well. Right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, multiplied by 0.9 divided by 100. 0.9 divided by 100. So that is the newly unemployed based on the unemployment numbers. So that would be 7.25 million people. But we already know that, so this newly unemployed based on unemployment figures. And the way we got that is by multiply 0.9% to the total labor force. And that's what we got. But this number, as we said, was already pretty large. So this is newly unemployed who used to work for, we call it enterprises above designated size or something. All right, so there's only 600,000 difference. So if that's the case, you would imagine almost all Chinese enterprises have a revenue above 20 million per year, which is clearly not possible. So let's make that bigger. Right, so that's just not possible. So let's find out what the real number is. We already know this is fake. This number has to be fake. Or one of them have to be fake. Like something has to be fake here. I tend to believe that the nicer looking number is actually fake. Just based on my understanding of China, really. Okay, so let's see. So let's find out the total number of employed. All right. That's not very useful. Let's limit the date range to this year, basically. All right, here we go. Okay, we have some data over here. Oh, damn it. Well, I need to pay for this. No tengo dinero, so yeah. So 2019, they already have a. Let's see if we can have this. Oh God. Need to pay. No tengo dinero. Ugh. Is there anything that in here that's, this is 2018 numbers. See if we can find something else. All right, let's see if we can find in here whether we have anything in here. Nope. Okay, this is number of employed. This is total number of employed. Okay, so that's not too bad. We can look at this. Okay, so this is total number of employed, 70 in 10,000. So whatever that is, I will put a few zeros over there. Another 3 zeros. So this is what? 774 million people that are unemployed by the end of 2019. Okay. And so let's look at the number. Okay, so here we go. So this is not looking very good at all. This is the number of employed by the this is for enterprises above designated size. Okay, and this is number of employed 2019 whole year for entire economy. All right, the ratio we're looking at, so number for enterprise above designated size divided by entire economy equals 10%, around 9%. Okay, so for 9% of the employment of the workforce, of the current, not workforce, the 9% of the people that were employed, we had 6 million, we had 6.6 million new unemployments. What are the chances that the rest of the 90% only lost 600,000 jobs? It's just not possible, right? So if we just stick to 10%, we're looking at 66 million newly unemployed. So that is a fairly crazy number. Okay, so let's say maybe the farmers won't be unemployed. So let's see if we can find out, you know, the farming community. The farmers can just work. Anyone working in services or manufacturing will get fucked. So let's see if we can find that. Here we go. No, it doesn't say whether they work for agriculture. Nope. I just need it. Let's see if we can find anything. Well, it doesn't say anything about agriculture. The Chinese numbers are pretty shit. Doesn't let us know much. I guess the more they let us know, the more they have to lie. But again, let's say farmers will keep their job, and then if we assume everybody in the countryside works for a farm, which is clearly not possible. Let's see if actually maybe there are other numbers. See if we have that. Here we go. We have some numbers here. Agricultural laborers, hopefully. There's some numbers. They were saying good things about fewer farmers. Okay, let's see. What the fuck? Okay, this number looks very fucked up. I don't think this is real. You don't go from 44% to 4. This number is fucked up. Nope, not good. Doesn't say anything about the actual. No, it just says number. Okay, so they say Chinese farmers, number dropped by 50%. It's not that. It's basically in China you are born into either a farmer or a resident. A farmer is not a resident. It is pretty fucked up. If you're a farmer, you're entitled to land. You can grow shit. If you're a resident, you don't own any land, and you can never own any land. You can rent a piece of land for 70 years, but you can never own it. You cannot grow on it. And then if you're a farmer, you're not entitled to living in the city unless you go to university and then you get employed, and then after a few years, typically depending on the city, if it's a desirable city like Shanghai, you have to get paid quite high and continually get employed for 5 years, and then you can obtain residency in the city, and now you're no longer a farmer. So it's not like people that actually do farming. It's just that it's just a category. So that's something you have to understand about China. It's really stupid. Like, people born in the same country are legally treated as two classes of people. You don't get to just come to the city and enjoy the facilities the city provides, nor can you just go to the countryside and start farming. You cannot buy these pieces of land, and then because these land are not tradable in the countryside, a lot of them just end up very low efficiency. They end up with very low efficiency. They can't use large machines. The cost of production in China in terms of agriculture is much higher compared to the US. All right, let me see if I can find the number of farmers. Damn it, damn it, damn it. How freaking difficult is it? Chinese numbers. Oh my god. That's some bullshit. Let's see. Here we go. It caught the first industry. All right, that doesn't just stop. Basically, that number just stops in 1978. What the? All right, so let's imagine if we just believe in this number, right? This CEIC data. Oh, there's. Oh, here we go. Ha! Found it. FID.gov.cn. foreigndirectinvestment.gov.cn. Assuming we can trust our numbers, agriculture takes 27%. Okay, so 27% of, let's assume 27% of the population don't get unemployed, which means this number will get reduced by 27%. Okay, so 747496987 multiplied by 1 minus that, which ends up as 50. So, and let's say non-farm employment numbers 2019 equals that, and then which means your EADS over oh my god, these numbers look oh sorry, this. I'm using the wrong number. So it's actually this number multiplied by 1 minus 27%. All right, so that's a number. So we're looking at that. And so we're compared to the EADS, which is this number, or this number, you're looking at divided by that. So 13%. Okay, so EADS is 13% of the non-farm employment, and it's not to say that these EADS are not farming. Some of them can be farming, but we're just saying that assuming none of these large companies are farming, they only employ 13% of the currently employed, and out of the 13%, we lost 6 million employment. So we're looking at that minus, right? So the number of newly unemployed is this, right? That's 13% of your total number. So if you divide by 13%, you end up with 51 million newly unemployed, if that number holds true. The real number may be somewhere in between, but again, if you imagine the people that are working in hospitality, or like restaurants, or heaven forbid, if you work for some anything that basically involves leisure, you probably are pretty fucked. Right, so yeah, so again, putting that number into perspective, 51 million out of the total employment number, which is, where are we? Out of that, we're looking at 6%. So we actually have probably, instead of 1% increase in unemployment, we have a 6% increase on unemployment. And this is just a month. Maybe the number is somewhere between this and the claimed 6 million that's unemployed, 7 million that's newly unemployed, but that's just 1 month. And judging by the US number, where within a single week there's 3 million that became newly unemployed, I don't think 50 million in China for an entire month is that crazy, and that's just from the Chinese ourselves stopping to consume. The problem goes beyond that, because there are now news coming out of factory shutdowns that employ thousands of people. And then my cousin told me in EU a bunch of them stopped working as well. They basically filed, yeah. So as soon as the factory workers came back, because the orders from US and Europe got canceled, a bunch of companies in Dongguan stopped, and they basically, each one of them would employ thousands. And Foxconn, which makes stuff for right, here we go. So they got a toy company that has 1,200 employee that just stopped. They closed down. And the one Sonic producer something, everybody's getting either a pay cut or they're getting furloughed. So 4,000 of that. So Fossil canceled all the orders, and then one of the manufacturing, we don't know who that is, but let's see. Blah, 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 blah. These are bunch of people that freeze hiring. And oh yeah, this company, I don't know what this company is, damn it. So here Foxconn is freeze hiring on everywhere, and somebody's getting fired. Yeah, so March is probably going to be even worse. So yeah, so we're not, so unemployment numbers may go even crazier. We may even end up with something like 100 million unemployed by the end of the year if things, some numbers that and then you have to work backwards because you can't trust the Chinese numbers usually. Yeah, but again, they can't lie everywhere, so that thing is also apparent. You can, so there's this earn thing, numbers in Wuhan, right? And then you might have seen it. So there are 8 crematoria in Wuhan, and one of them ordered 2.5 thousand urns per day. And so basically, people are not allowed to take home their family's ash until the end of the lockdown. And on the day that there was 25th or so, that was the first day they were allowed to go and collect their ash. But then there was long queues and whatnot, and for 2 days consecutively, they would, for a single crematorium, they would have 2,500 urns delivered every day. We don't know how many are delivered now, because now the numbers become sensitive and they start cracking down and not letting these numbers out. But we know for the first 2 days they need 2.5. They had 5,000 delivered cumulatively. And one of the another crematorium said that they will strive to deliver, basically deliver to hand out 5,000 urns, 500 urns a day until one of the Chinese traditional holidays, or it's not even a holiday. It's like the day you go and remember your dead. Right, so that's about 12 days. So that in that alone, they would deliver 6,000 urns. There are 8 crematoria in China, in Wuhan. So that 2.5 thousand death in Wuhan is clearly not believable due to coronavirus. Because even though there are natural death, right? Well, this is natural as well. There's like this base level death rate, which is about 1% per year. It kind of fluctuates a little bit, but let's say 1% per year. Wuhan has 11 million people, and during the Lunar New Year, some of them actually leave, so maybe slightly less. Let's say 8 million people, 9 million people. Say 8 million people. Right? If you had 8 million people, then every month you would have multiplied by 0.01 times 1 million. Sorry, 1 million. So 8 million people, right? 6,000 per month, and each day would get you 200. So somewhere around 200 people would die per day, naturally. Now, the urn collection stopped basically not immediately as people started dying, but urns collection stopped. I think it was somewhere in the beginning of February. So they had about 10 days where they could still collect their earnings. So basically we had only 20, we had 2 months, I think. So 1.73. So total should be 10,000, about 10,000 deaths in Wuhan for that period of time. But a single one for 2 days only had 5,000, and the other one said they have to deliver 6,000 before a particular date in April. Well, they have to deliver 500 per day until a particular date in April. So that date is oh shit. So the 4th of these days, yeah, 4th. So about 10 days. So 5,000 on that one. They said we will try to be done by then, but they probably can't be done by then. And then what about the other 6? Right? It's you can't have just 2 of those crematoria. We know they had capacity issues at the crematoria, which is now happening in Italy as well. This is going to happen in US. Like, make no mistake, that's going to happen in US as well. Crematoria will get crowded. So yeah, that's that. And so basically the gist of this whole rambly video is that one has to come up with his own numbers, especially regarding China, and then if 6% of the population got unemployed over a month, well, in US some similar things might happen, and at the moment US unemployment rate, it was very, very low. I think unemployment rate, yes, was very low. It's basically at historic lows, right? That will shoot up 6%, which means it will get to here within, if China has any guidance, within a month it will be here. And that's the peak of the financial crisis. So, all right, addressing the comments. Does China have anything related to unemployment benefits? Yes, there is. Unemployment benefits, I don't know how much it is. It depends on your original income. It only, yeah, I don't know how much it pays. So I pay myself minimum wage, so I have no idea how much that's going to end up with. When did you switch to Windows? Well, I have this ginormous machine that has, look at this, a shit ton of cores and 64 gigs of RAM. You can't afford a Mac with the same specs. So I still have my Mac, the laptop, but now I just have a really fancy desktop. Envy me. What is the current real estate trend in China? Prices going up, down, or remain expensive, but people, well, it's not much volume these days, so we don't actually know whether things are going up or down. My guess is it's not going up, because where's the money coming from, right? Like, people are not producing. How long will it take for the economic impact of the virus to pan out in US? Probably similar to in China, but slightly longer maybe, because the Chinese lockdown is a bit more drastic. So let's say for China that really took a month for 6% unemployment, if my numbers are right. And if my number isn't right, let's say 3% unemployment, which in a single month is a huge shock. Um, let's spread that out in US for 2 months, then you're still, yeah, I think economically June. Yeah, 3 months from now, June-ish is probably going to be the peak impact. Maybe. Since vast majority in China wasn't affected and did not develop immunity, do you see the virus returning to China once travel restrictions are rolled back? Yeah, of course. I definitely do see numbers going back up in China as a possibility. And the other thing is, for example, in Wuhan, they announced that they will remove the lockdown, but as soon as that was lifted, there were people that were queuing up in front of hospitals for fever. We don't know what kind of disease they have, but yeah. Is the Chinese central bank buying stocks in the stock market? I'm not aware of that. The central bank in China doesn't have to buy stock market. China has plenty of capital under the control of the government that can buy stocks in the stock market. For example, they even call it, the national team. There was one of this guy, they do, and then there's this, they do, and then we have the oh yeah, I caught, damn it, stupid. This thing, which I don't know how to translate, National Council for Social Security Fund. So that goes in the stock market. They can buy most of that of this guy is in bonds, I think. So yeah, so the lines are very blurry. It's not the same relationship between the U.S. government and the Fed, because the Fed has some independence. In China, it just does whatever the government says has to be done. And there's nothing particularly, nothing particularly sensitive about them doing crazy things, because most people are not paying attention, and even if they do, there's nothing they can do about it. You can't object, you cannot criticize, so what? They just do whatever they feel like. Okay, so that is my video for today. And the takeaway, unemployment could spike 6% in a month. And things are maybe very shit. And don't trust Chinese numbers. That's all. Bye.